Hello and welcome to the Learning Engineer at LearningEngineer.com. Today I'm going to show you how to make a simple slideshow in Flash and ActionScript. I'm working with Adobe Flash CS3 Professional, and when I open it up, the first thing we want to do is click on Flash File ActionScript 3. Now we want to quick take a look at this. You'll see up here you have basically our movie, and then we have these are our frames. This is our what's called the main timeline, and then this is our layer. These are our layers, and this is layer 1. Now we're going to need a total of 3 layers for this project, so I'm going to click this twice more. 1, 2, and the first layer we're always going to name ActionScript, so I'm just going to call it AS3. Our next layer is going to be our buttons, so we're going to name that buttons, and that's like the forward and back buttons of a slideshow. And then our third layer is going to be our pictures, so we're going to call this pics. The other thing we're going to need to do is we're going to need to make 10 frames that are all keyframes, and what we can do is we can click on the last one and go insert keyframe, and then we can select all of these and go convert to keyframes, and you can see it converted them all right away. And then up here we can insert frames so that these 2 layers expand out as far as the last layer. Okay, now that we've got that, we can move this over. This is our scrubber bar, and this lets us scrub through our movie. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to go in here and we're going to import, and we're going to import a bunch of files to the library. Now here's our slideshow images, so I'm just going to click on the first one, hold down my shift key and click on the last one, and then click open. Okay, so we have all of our pictures here. So what we want to do then is come over here, and I just want to quick change my settings here from, well, I guess I can leave them that way, but I do want to darken the stage so that we can at least see it. So you can see my stage here, and so now all I want to do is make sure that I click on the pics layer and the first frame. So when I bring a picture over here, that's where it's going to go. So here I'm take this and drag it over to your desktop or the stage, and then we do that again for the next one, and the next one, and so on down the line. And so now we're going to put in the 9th one here, but I want to quick show you something here, because sometimes when you do these files, these graphic files, they look jagged. And so one of the ways you can fix that is by clicking on them over here and clicking on properties, and you'll see that here you have your image, and you can check allow smoothing and then click OK, and that should make it look smoother. So there's 9. And now we have the back button. Now what we want to do with these is I'm going to quick smooth these. Allow smoothing. Okay. And allow smoothing. Okay. But now what I need to do is I need to come up to my buttons layer, and you can see that that button is right there. It's on the first frame, and I'm going to need to come down and put these on here. Okay, and next. Okay, so they're there, but now I need to convert them to symbols. So I'm going to convert this to a symbol, and I'm just going to call it back button, or BB. Okay, B button, button. Okay. I'm going to do the same thing with this, convert the symbol. I'm going to call it next button, or N button. Okay. I'm going to click OK, and you can see now these have changed changed into symbols. And you know this because now down here they have what's called an instance name, and we really need to change this instance name, and we're going to change it for the back one to previous. You can name them whatever you want, you just have to make sure you remember this so that when you call them an ActionScript and Flash know what you're talking about. So for this one I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to name it Next Button. Okay, so that's done. And so I've got the basic part of my slideshow set up. So now I'm going to quick save this, save it. And we'll name it Slideshow .FLA and click save. So now what we want to do is we want to come up to our ActionScript layer, and we simply want to click there, and we need to bring up our ActionScript window. So here's our ActionScript window, and we've got this first layer selected. So then I should just be able to paste the text that I have in. Okay, and I'm going to go over this with you. So the first thing, the first line here, 1, says stop. So when it enters this frame, it says stop everything. Okay, then it goes to the next frame and it says next button, and that's our button. Those are our buttons only, but these are named wrong because I used a capital N, so I do have to change that, and I do have to change the same thing for the previous button, so just a matter of clicking there. And so what this line does, it adds an event listener to my button. Okay, so it says next button, add event listener, and then the event is a mouse event and the click. Okay, and then it says do this function or do this, and this is a function that's down here, so you can see this function's right here. So it says when, so it's listening to the button, and when a mouse clicks on it, it's going to say do onNextButtonClicked. Okay, and the same thing for the next one. It listens to an event on that button, and when it's done, it says run this function. And so these are the two functions here. So it says function on next button, mouse event, void, and we'll go over what void and all that means on another lesson. But basically, run this function when the button is clicked by the mouse. So if it's on the current frame and it's equal to the total frames, go to and stop at 1. So this means if it's at the end, go to the first frame and stop. Otherwise, you should go on to the next frame. That's what the if else. So it says if the current frame is equal to the total number of frames. So in other words, if the current frame is 10 and there's a total of 10 frames, it means that basically it's on the last frame. And that it should then do this part, go to and stop, and this 1 in these parentheses means the first frame. So it's going to go to this frame. Okay? Or else, just go to the next frame. Okay? And the same thing with this function. Okay? If the current frame equals 1, meaning if it's the first frame, you obviously can't go back. So it tells you, so if you're on the current frame is 1, it wants you to go to and stop total frames, which total frames would be the last frame, so 10. So if we have 10 total frames, it's going to go there. Okay? Otherwise, go to the previous frame. And that's all there is to this. It's pretty simple. So, let's close this, or at least, yep, let's close this. Okay, and then we can test our movie. go to Control and Test Movie. Okay, there it is. So we click Next. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, back. See how nice that works? So that's our movie, and we want to save this again, and I'll post this with the lesson. And then if you want to play around with this by adding sound, I'll go over the next lesson to show you how to do sound. Okay, this is Learning Engineer. Have a good day.